Good evening, everyone. Today is July 15th, Wednesday, July 15th. This is the regularly scheduled school committee meeting in the summer. I think those that are here there's a couple missing that are not going to be here, so why don't we begin the meeting? If we could all please stand, begin our meeting by saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Gendron.
Here.
Mr. Leary. Ms. Martin.
Here.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
5 present, 2 absent.
5 present, 2 absent. Let me begin the meeting by welcoming Dr. Calfoy, the new school superintendent. This is your first meeting. Welcome, Doctor. We appreciate, nice to see you here. Any opening statement, or you ready for the agenda?
Ready for the agenda.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to take a report out of order. If there's no objection, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Conway, to take an item out of order on the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Although we have Ms. Kubicki in the audience who would probably love to sit through the entire agenda this evening, we know that you could probably watch it on replay, and she's here to answer questions on a report. So with that, if we could take item number 13 out of order. This is under subcommittees. It's the Joint Policy and Student Support Services Report. Report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, June 24th. Ms. Rosikowicz is not here. Ms. Scott is a chairwoman of one of those committees. So Chair would like to recognize Ms. Scott to present that report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Joint Policy and Student Support Subcommittee met on Wednesday, June 24th at 6:30 p.m. Present were myself and Student Support Services Subcommittee Chair Kristen Rosikowicz. Also present were Dr. Jay Lang, Janine Durkin, Michael Cassidy, Roxanne Howe, Sharon Legassi, Lisa Brialt-Gilbicki. The meeting was called to order. Oh, I said that, sorry. The first item on the agenda was a review of the proposed changes to the Lowell High School handbook. A copy of the proposed changes have been attached in the packet. The second item was a review by Superintendent Durkin of proposed changes to the elementary and middle school handbook. That's also attached in the packet. A motion was made by Ms. Rosikowicz, seconded by myself, to accept the proposed changes to the Lowell High School and elementary and middle school handbooks for the 2015-16 school year, and a recommendation was made for approval of the full school committee. And I would make that as a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Scott, seconded by Ms. Martin on that motion. Questions, comments? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin, Ms. Rosikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Handbook is approved and adopted. Thank you. Ms. Scott?
Okay. The next item on the agenda was a presentation of proposed changes to the comprehensive health and wellness policy made by Assistant Superintendent Durkin and Sharon Legassi. Motion was made, it's also in the packet for your review. A motion was made by Ms. Rosikowicz, seconded by myself, to recommend the full school committee approve the draft health and wellness policy as presented. I would submit that as a motion, in the form of a motion.
Motion by Ms. Scott, seconded by Mr. Gendron to recommend the full school committee approve the draft health and wellness policy as presented. Questions, comments on this motion? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Okay. The next item on the agenda for the evening was proposed changes to the life-threatening allergic reaction and EpiPen policy for the subcommittee's review and approval. It was included in the packet. A motion was made by Kristen Rosikowicz, seconded by myself, to recommend the full school committee approve the draft life-threatening allergic reactions and EpiPen policy as presented. I would submit that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Ms. Scott, seconded by Mr. Conway to recommend to the full school committee to approve the draft life-threatening allergic reactions and EpiPen policy as presented. Questions? Please, questions. Ms. Gilbicki came here on this beautiful summer evening. Seeing none, roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Motion approved.
Okay.
Life-threatening allergic reactions and EpiPens are adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbicki. And then the next item,
Have a great
the last item on the agenda that evening was the domestic violence leave policy. The Director of Human Resources, Michael Cassidy, presented a proposed domestic violence leave policy for the subcommittee's review and approval. It's been included in the packet. Motion was made by Ms. Rosikowicz, seconded by myself, to recommend a full school committee approval of the draft domestic violence leave policy as presented. I would submit that as a motion to the full committee.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Motion by Ms. Scott, seconded by Ms. Martin to recommend to the full school committee to approve the draft domestic violence leave policy as presented. Questions, comments, thoughts on this motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on to the, any other questions? Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Entertain a motion to accept that report as a report of progress and place on file by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Conway. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The minutes are adopted and placed on file. We'll just revert back to the agenda, original schedule agenda. Under special order of business, we have a spotlight on excellence. I believe that that's going to be postponed, correct?
No,
No?
we do have a,
Oh, you had the video?
we have a
Okay.
video.
Neela Webster, author video, just the video. Okay. With that, Superintendent?
Yes, well, this is an author, Neela Webster, and I understand that she's been donating books to our schools, children, and we have a little video about that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're gonna get a book today, and we're gonna do something to thank a really lovely author. There's an author, her name is Miss Nyla Webster. And what she wants to do is make sure that third graders across Massachusetts and other places get a copy of her beautiful book. We're gonna talk about that today. And she wrote a letter. Miss Webster wants to let you know that she believes in the future of every young person. And she wrote a special book that is going to tell you about really a lot of kindness. And so she is sending you her thanks for being students who are going to read her book and, in fact, continue her dream of making sure third graders across Lowell, all third graders are going to receive something from her today. So she wants to thank you. She believes in you, and she knows that the future of all of our towns and cities, especially Lowell, is going to be in your hands. And so she wants to thank you all. So I'm going to just start off with that message, and then we'll go on to what else is going to happen today. So, thank you. Hi, friends. How are you today? Good. Miss Webster sent everyone a copy of this, and it's even super special because look what she did inside. She signed it. So you're going to have your very own copy of this famous book with her signature. And we have some 7th and 8th grade friends who are going to come down, and they're going to read the book with you in little groups. And then we're going to write Miss Webster a letter and thank her for the gift. And we're going to think about, can we make a connection to this story? As we're listening to it with our friends from 7th and 8th grade, I want you to be thinking, how can I connect to this book? It might remind you of something in your life. It might remind you of something else you've read before. It might remind you of something you've heard about from your parents. And you can add that to your letter to let her know how special you think the book is. Sound good? Alright, so we're going to start by making sure everyone gets a copy of their own book. And then you guys have them separated into groups already. And then your wonderful teachers will tell you which group you're in and where you're going to sit. Does everyone understand? Yes. Alright. Don't worry if you don't get it. We'll get a whole bunch more for this. You guys look great. Ready for your futures today?
Gracias, en armonía, por el anillo alrededor de la luna de noche, por el cielo de oeste y la aurora boreal.
To give us a few words about Nyla.
Nyla, thank you. Wow. Nyla Webster lives in Revere. She has decided that she wants to share books that she writes with different districts across the Massachusetts. So Lowell was the lucky one this year that she donated this third grade to all third graders in the district. They all got the books. She donated those this year, and she wasn't able to be here, but this was a video done at the Pine Arts. What you didn't see or hear was you could see there were older students there, 8th grade students who came into the classroom with the 3rd grade students on that particular day and did the readings with them. So it was, being there was really exciting. I don't know if this captured everything, but it was a great experience. And she's offered to next year to send some more books along to our 7th grade students. So we'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abrams. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Moving on to the next item, we have minutes. We have approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled school committee meeting from Wednesday, June 17th, 2015. Entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Scott. Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, next section of the agenda, we have permission to enter.
Yes.
Item number 5, consultant agreement for Frank Antonelli. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, this is the contract we had talked about earlier for Mr. Frank Antonelli to come in as an interim for a couple months until we conduct a search. I think the contract is in the packet, so if you have any questions. Also, one piece of information that we just got about an hour ago, as I walked in, we did get the approval from the state to go ahead and do that, because we needed their approval for a waiver. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Questions on this?
Moved.
Mr. Conway?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Scott. Questions? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Next item on the agenda, under permission to enter, we have item number 6. This is a contract ratification, SEIU Local 888 Library Aids. Mr. Superintendent?
You want,
Well,
Jay, you want to
Mr.
say a
Lang?
few words? You would?
Sure, this is also the contract we spoke about at the last meeting, but we have reached a tentative agreement with SEIU Library Aids, and we have just presenting the final version of the MOA for you to vote in public session.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Questions? Thoughts? What is the wish of the body? Move to approve?
Move approval.
Move to approve by Mr. Gendron, second by Mr. Conway. Comments, questions, thoughts? Roll
Mr. Mayor,
call. Mr. Gendron?
just on the motion, I'd like to say that we've ratified a union contract. I think this is good news. Hopefully be a harbinger of things to come. And, I think we're on our way now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gendron. Further comments? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Leary? Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Rostikowicz? Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
That concludes permission to enter. We now move on to motions. There are 3 motions this evening. The first one is by Ms. Ross Sikowitz. We'll just pull this, just entertain a motion to delay this till the next meeting by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next item, next motion of the evening by Ms. Martin, requesting that the administration update the committee on the new community eligibility and direct certification standards for the free and reduced lunch programs and how these changes may impact Chapter 70 funding formula for the district in the future. Seconded by Mr. Gendron. Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Information I'm sure my colleagues shared. I mean, we've been getting this information from MASC as a resource and also from some additional, I know a lot of the statewide associations around budget and around the around education in general have been paying attention to this. Anything that can influence the formula has a big impact, I think particularly here in the city of Lowell. I think this is a move to certainly try to be more accurate in assessing the level of free and reduced lunch eligible students and families that we have in the city, and I'm all for that. I just want to kind of make sure that we're paying attention to it so that we know we can talk with our state delegation should there be any issues. And I think it is something that we just need to keep our eyes on at this point. We live and die by budget, so if we can get some updated information on it, that would be great, just so we can be better prepared to deal with whatever may come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Mr. Gendron, request superintendent to determine the status of the lot behind the Lincoln School playground and pursue options to use it as a Mill City Grows community garden. Mr. Gendron? Seconded by Mr. Conway. Mr. Gendron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I made a visit to the Lincoln School just before the close of school, and the Lincoln School, I think, could use some work on the appearance, the outward appearance of the school. I feel like there's a lot of weeds that could be addressed and a lot of grooming that can be done. But one of the things that really kind of adds to the kind of poor appearance of the school is a city, I think what is a city-owned lot directly behind the basketball court in the school. And the principal told me there that Mill City Grows, who we've been in partnership for community gardens at several of our schools, had been interested in trying to get access to that lot so they could build a community garden that would be both a combined community garden and school garden. And I thought that would be a great thing for that school and that neighborhood if we could make that happen. I've been in touch with the Mill City Grows folks, and they are very much in favor of trying to do this, potentially in the coming school year. But I think there's some legwork that needs to be done in figuring out, is it truly a city lot? Can we get access to it? Just cleaning the lot itself would go a long way to making the school and the grounds look a lot better. So I'm wondering if we can kind of look into that, find out what the status of the lot is, see if there's if the city is open to having us use it as a community garden, and then coordinating with Mill City Grows to try and make that happen.
I just asked Mr. Lang if he had been in touch with the City Parks Department. I will find an email, Mr. Gendron. I believe MACOM, I'm sure there's room for Mill City Girls, and I think that's a great idea. I think MACOM is working to put in a playground over there. I'm surprised they haven't reached out to the school department, but I will get that to Mr. Kalfori and you as well, just to maybe coordinate doing both there. I think it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
So I actually talked about the playground with the
Okay.
principal, too. I think that's in a different spot.
Oh, it is? Okay,
Yeah,
good,
it's a
good.
different
Right.
location where they're looking to put actually on school grounds.
And that's on track, right?
To the, it seemed to be a little off track, actually,
Yeah.
according to the principal. I don't know if the MACOM was stepping up to the full cost
Okay.
of the playground, so there was some discussion about where's the rest of that money going to come from. I think it's a great idea, and we certainly want to capitalize
Right.
on a donation by MACOM if we can, but it seemed to be a little off track. But it was definitely on a different location than what I'm talking about here for Community Garden.
Thank you. I will follow up on that with you and the
Thank you.
superintendent as well. I know Mr. Bellegarde, I think it's about to cross the finish line. Okay, further thoughts, comments, questions on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to subcommittees. The first report is a technology report and approval of the minutes of the meeting on Tuesday, June 2nd. Chair would like to recognize the chairman of that subcommittee, Mr. Gendron. Mr. Gendron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had this meeting last month. I think it was June 2nd, actually. And it was a really, I thought, terrific meeting, a great summary of the status of the technology in the Lowell schools. And it was attended by myself and Ms. Martin and Mr. Leary, members of the committee, as well as Dr. Lang, and Bill Silver, the director of the information systems for the city, as well as several people from his staff who often attend those meetings. And they had some consultants there who had done an analysis of the city's status with technology called CELT, which is the Center for Educational Leadership and Technology. And they had high praise for the city's progress over the past couple of years. First of all, high praise for Mr. Silver and his knowledge and his ability to drive things in that department. They did a survey among members of the school system, and over 400 people responded, and the praise was high for the technology specialists. That's Artie and Laurie, who do most of the personal development and training within the district, and also very high for the help desk and the response to any issues that are put into the help desk. If in last month's packet, there's a presentation that they delivered. And if you look, there's a chart in that presentation that talks about feedback from the respondents on their feelings about the technology. And over 90% of the people who responded either strongly agreed or agreed that the technology support had been much improved over the past year. And 85% of those people had been in this system for at least 3 years. So really great news, really great progress, I think, from the technology standpoint. One of the major assets or major things that really helped in the past year are those part-time specialists, those part-time technicians that we hired, because now each school has a person that they know is going to respond to them. Previously, it went to these technology specialists who are also responsible for professional development. They handled all of the tickets, all of the, my computer's not working or my printer's broken. Now we have these technology specialists who can focus on that, and the response time has been cut in half. The tickets have doubled, but the response time has been cut in half. So really great news, really a good feeling, I think, among the district about our technology staff. Mr. Silver also talked about a few of the projects that they're working on now. One was this Digital Connections grant that they received a $1 million grant not too long ago in collaboration with Project Learn to outfit all of our 8th grade, or our middle school, 8 of our middle schools with new technology, with new connectivity, and with also software that is going to be geared directly at improving performance on MCAS scores. So that's going along very well. We expect that to be up next year. He talked about the iReady software, which has been rolled out in 6 of our schools and has been received very well. The the development or the training for that software has gone very well. All the schools seem happy with it. And the software is one that allows students to evaluate the performance or the ability of students in a way that is gradual. So if a student has a lesson in class, they can sit down at the iReady software, take the test, and the tests will get harder as they get better, and it can easily evaluate where they are. And all of the schools who participated could see positive growth with regard to where the students are at on grade level. If you take a look at the presentation in the packet, which you probably have already done, you can see the charts that you can get out of this iReady that clearly demonstrate the progress of the students. So it's really great package that we hope to continue to roll out at more of our schools in the coming years. And finally, we talked about website analytics. A couple of years ago, we had almost none of our schools use their website. You went on the website, and you were lucky if you could find the principal's name on there and maybe an email address. Now every school has a website that's up and running and has content in it, and the usage of those websites has quadrupled. There's statistics in this report that show some of the schools' hits on the websites have gone up 400% because teachers are using them, principals are using them, there's content on there, parents are going on to see what's going on in their schools. So really good news, really good things happening in the technology department, and I'll submit that as a report of progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jennett. That's a good report. It's, in this day and age, it's important for us to keep pace, especially with the use of technology, and so that the kids don't surpass us.
Yeah, I might add, if I would, that's all great news, but they still said we need more people and we need more technology. So the progress is great, but we're far from where we need to be. We still need to set the bar high, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that.
Thank you. Further comments, subcommittee report? Motion to accept the report as a report of progress and placed on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Conway. All those in favor signify by saying aye. In the opposed, Technology Subcommittee report is adopted and placed on file. Next subcommittee report, we have the curriculum report and approval of the minutes of the meeting that was held on Tuesday, June 9th, 2015. I'd like to recognize Chairwoman of that subcommittee, Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The meeting did take place on June 9th. Present from the subcommittee were myself and Mr. Leary. Also present from central office were Superintendent Franco, Assistant Superintendent Abrams, Assistant Superintendent Durkin. From our early childhood district support area, we had Pat Murphy-Pancho, also Terry O'Neill. We had Melissa Newell, who's our coordinator of pre-K through 4 language. Also Marty Cohen, who is there as our coordinator of science, social studies for the district. And finally, Paula Bransfield, who is there. She's our district support specialist for STEM learning and activities here in the district. 3 quick topics really that we covered at the subcommittee. First was we enjoyed a presentation from the Daily School. Their leadership was there to present to us, talking about some of the school improvement plan was the kind of central point we were discussing. Obviously, the Daily and their team is extremely strong, and it was great to hear from them how they use this, certainly not the plan itself, but how they use the process, I think. Was really great to see. They were able to highlight the anti-bullying program that the Daily has developed internally, their leadership, which has been particularly successful here in the district and certainly worthy of replication. We also were able to talk about, and again, I know as we've had our curriculum meetings and as we instituted in the last, I guess, 6 to 9 months, these opportunities of having school staff come to report to the subcommittee on areas of particular success that we want to not only be aware of, but we want to be able to support as we help them expand throughout the district. The really consistent message that we have heard, and it was certainly echoed during Mr. Skinner's presentation, was the idea of teachers having the common planning time and having the opportunities to kind of work within their professional learning communities, supporting each other with real time and support from their school administration, from the district administration, so that they have that opportunity to work together on behalf of our students. I think Mr. Skinner and actually his whole team, I think, articulated that really quite clearly, as have others in his previously, and it's really quite inspiring to see what can happen when these groups of professionals do have the opportunity to work together towards furthering our interests as a community to see our students performing better and having a better educational experience. So that was submitted to the committee, accepted as a report of progress. Second topic was an update on the Teaching Strategies Gold. This has been an ongoing conversation that we've been having around the process and I guess the assessment mechanism that we have in place working with our early learners and kindergarten. It is something I know that's being implemented not just in the Lowell Public School pre-K and kindergartens, but also throughout the city. So we're really working as part of a citywide effort. And honestly, a statewide effort, let's be real. The Department of Early Education and Care mandated this, so it's not like we stumbled on it by chance. But so we have, there have been some challenges, certainly as there always are. I think more than anything, what I was struck by was, first off, the turnout. We had a remarkable number of City of Lowell kindergarten teachers who came and pre-K teachers who came to talk to us about the way this has been implemented, about improvement opportunities they see moving forward. I think they were extremely articulate and extremely helpful in what they were offering to us. And I think that both from the administration's perspective, from the committee's perspective, we see real opportunities moving forward. So I think one of the key things we did discuss was taking this opportunity to move I guess back in a certain sense to more of a standards-based report card for that age group, which is, I will say for myself, something we've talked about over many years and have implemented, across time. I think we're continuing to implement it. It'll be now with preschool. Our next conversation, I think, will really be at the middle school level. But ensuring that we're not only producing something that's accurate, because I do think, and obviously that's extremely important, but something that is accurate, that is capable of being read and understood by every parent and every community member, so we can understand what the achievements of our students are really what is being revealed through these assessment measures. We spend an inordinate amount of time and money and staff resources in assessing what we're doing and assessing its success every single day in our classrooms. We need to be able to communicate it effectively. And the report card is a time-honored tradition of communicating home what a child's performance and what their challenges are, so that everyone is on the same page and we're all working to support that each individual student's success through their education. So that will be an ongoing process. We did discuss the involvement of teachers moving forward in creating this new document, implementing this new communication method, same as it ever was, nothing new under the sun. But so I think that was, it was great to hear from the administration. And again, I was particularly struck that there was such a strong representation from teachers there to talk about what was going on and how it was impacting their everyday lives in the classroom and their work with students. Final topic was, and that was accepted as a report of progress as well. Final topic was the implementation of the FOSS science kits. I know we've had some conversation both here, particularly during our budget hearings. I think, again, there was great teacher attendance to talk about this and to offer suggestions. I think we recognize that there were some challenges when this first came out, and I think that what we're looking at now in terms of investment and in terms of better, stronger implementation of this is being able to ensure that teachers have access to the kits. So that's the first thing, they have them. That we continue our professional development around them so that they're being used effectively. That we are, and I would not discount this as a small thing, but that we have a certain level of responsibility for live creatures that are coming into our schools, that they're treated respectfully and that they are used in the manner that they're meant to. So again, a lot of teachers talking about how engaging they found the kits and how strong they thought they would be as a part of their learning in the classroom. So I think moving forward, we're particularly well suited to be able to look at this second year of implementation with some important improvements and ensuring that we're getting the most impact that we can. Science, again, our STEM, every STEM activity we have going on in the district is of very strong importance to us, and we cannot afford to miss any single opportunity to give our students this chance to learn in creative, innovative, and scientific new ways. So that was the final topic. That was accepted as a report of progress. I would proffer this in sum total as the report of the subcommittee with any additions by my colleagues.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress and place on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Scott. Questions, comments, discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Still under subcommittees, there's one more subcommittee report. This is a personnel subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, June 17th by Chairwoman Ms. Martin.
So our second subcommittee report, much shorter than the first. We did have our personnel subcommittee. It was immediately preceding our last school committee meeting. At that meeting, really the single point of topic was the talking about going through the process of the bringing on the temporary assistant superintendent for finance and operations. The committee discussed Dr. Kalfawi's recommendation. We approved it. We moved forward up to and including tonight when we approved the whole deal. Not to give away the cliffhanger at the end, but yeah, it passed. So that is that report I submitted. Thank you.
Motion to accept the report as a report of progress and place on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Gendron. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That concludes subcommittee reports. We will move on to reports of the superintendent. The first report, item number 14, is a report of the ambulance incidences of 2014-2015. Mr. Superintendent?
The report was is in the packet. It was prepared by Assistant Superintendent Janine Durkin. And do you have any words?
Sure. This report was prepared as a result of a motion by Mayor Rodney Elliott at the June 17th, 2015 school committee meeting, requesting that the superintendent provide a report on the number of incidents when ambulances are called to the Lowell Public Schools. In total, this year, there were 46 documented incidents. In the report, I divvy those up as relative to staff incidents and student incidents, whether they pertain to specific health needs, injury that were sustained at school, or mental health requirements for students. On the basis of the documentation that you have there, you can see that there were 20 total health incidents, 6 of which were staff. There were 9 medical, all of which were student, and the mental health incidents were all students, and there were 17 of those. As discussed at the previous meeting, there were new revisions made to some of the safety protocols that we've detailed at length throughout this school year, and I attach for you some of the information relative to what was shared with staff about reporting emergencies. Additionally, through the recommendation of the City of Lowell Health Department, all ambulance communications are now directly routed to 911 so that it could never be presumed that we are delaying treatment. So those are 2 additional new revisions that have been included. And I present this to you as baseline data so that when we look at next year's, we'll be able to determine if utilizing this updated protocols and procedures, if there are additional ambulance reports.
Thank you, Ms. Durkin. That's a thorough report. That's exactly what I was looking at. As I mentioned when I presented the motion, it was really, knowing that presuming there was a protocol in place and that, that there's an approved protocol, which is important. We all receive the reports on a regular basis coming from the superintendent, and there seemed to be an increase, but I think, the thresholds and the precautions that are put in place are very good, so I appreciate the effort on the report. Any other questions on this report? Motion to approve by Ms. Scott, second by Ms. Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next report of the superintendent is a personnel report. Mr.
Yep,
Superintendent?
We're submitting the personnel report and for your approval. It's in the packet.
Thank you. Any questions? Move to approve by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Gendron. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next report is a list of eligible teachers. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, again, we are submitting this report for your approval.
Okay, again, Mr.
Any
Conway.
question?
Motion to approve, second by Ms. Scott. Comments, questions? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. The report is accepted and placed on file. Next report is home education. Mr. Superintendent?
This next item is a request for home education, and we are requesting your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Move to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Scott. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin, Ms. Ross-Sikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on to new business, we have a vote to approve the establishment of Crest Capital Reserve Fund. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, this is, CREST is the collaborative we belong to, and this is, we're looking for your approval to vote to establish the CREST Capital Reserve Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Ms. Martin?
I am sorry to ask, and I'm sure I'll be even sorrier when I get the answer, but could you just a little bit, the reserve fund is set aside within CREST so that they, what are they using it for?
Mr. J will
Mr.
answer
Lang?
that question.
Yep, thank you. Because we're a member of Crest Collaborative, there are certain actions that the school committee needs to take organizationally when they are structuring themselves. They don't currently have a capital reserve fund, and as an organization, they would like to establish one. So each of the member districts needs to vote to authorize them to have a reserve fund, basically, and it would be used to pay for any kind of capital improvements to Crest properties. So any of the sites that they own or facilities that they own, they can put money aside at the end of the year. So basically, remaining funds or a portion of the budget could be allocated to this reserve fund for capital. And then legally, they're allowed to carry that balance to the following fiscal year and then use it for capital improvements.
Ms. Martin?
Just as a quick follow-up, so would drawdowns from that specific account, would it, I'm assuming it would still be going through the regular board approval process at CREST?
Oh, correct. It has to be approved by the Board of Directors, and most of these capital repairs would actually be some kind of a bonded issue, so you'd still have some kind of a note on it, but this actually just authorizes them to actually have that fund. So the board would still need to approve whatever the expenditure is and approve a contract, but this just allows them to physically set up the fund.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you, Ms. Martin. Any further comments? Is there a motion made and approved? Yep. Motion to approve by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Gendron. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Next item is associated with the Crest, with the establishment of the Crest Reserve Fund, or actually just the appointment to the Crest Board. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, as required by the ESC, as a collaborative, they have to have either a member from a representative from each member, and it is usually either the superintendent or a school committee member. So we're looking for your approval to have me appointed to replace Ms. Franco, who was our latest representative on the board.
Make a motion that we approve the superintendent's recommendation and appoint him to the CREST board.
Okay, motion by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Conway to appoint, recommend the appointment of new superintendent, Mr. Kalfari, Dr. Kalfari, to the Crest Board. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rossikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
We're moving on to the next item. This is item number 20. We have the election of secretary. Mr. Superintendent?
Again, I think Ms. Franco was occupying this role, and we're looking for your approval to have me elected the secretary.
Okay, move to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Scott. The process is, we will, by individual, when your name is called, just state the individual's name.
Mayor Elliott,
Dr. Kalfari.
Mr. Gendron,
Dr. Kalfawi?
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Dr. Kalfawi.
Ms. Rossikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Dr. Kalfawi?
Mr. Conway.
Dr. Kalfawi.
5 for Dr. Kalfawi, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on to the next item, we have item number 21. Next item is the authorization to release Deputy Superintendent Lang. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes. Given that we have received the approval from the state to engage Mr. Frank Antonelli to be the interim, I'm requesting your approval to release Mr. J. Lang earlier. I think his contract states would have you leave normally the end of August, and we're looking for your approval to have him released earlier by the end of July, correct? Yeah, early August.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Gendron?
I'm just wondering how Mr. Antonelli is on board, or has he not started yet?
Tomorrow he'll be.
Tomorrow he's on board.
We were just waiting for the approval of the ESA,
Okay.
which we got a couple of hours ago.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gendron. Further
Move to approve.
move to approve by Ms. Scott, second by Ms. Martin.
Mr. Mayor, I had one other question, if I might.
Mr. Gendron?
Mr. Lang, I assume we obviously have some negotiation issues that are coming up. I'm assuming you won't mind if we reach out to you from time to time for some input and maybe some historical input on various items?
Right. No, I plan on being on board through the end of July, early August. I'm going to be transitioning with Frank. He actually spent a good portion of today with me. He'll be here for the rest of the week too, as we transition. And I've made it, abundantly clear that I want this to go smoothly. So some key issues, we want to get all of the fiscal 15 closed. We want to open up 16. We've got the negotiations and mediation with the various unions. So I still want to help with kind of handing that over. And conveniently, I'm only living in Lowell. I'm only going one town over, and Frank is actually in Chelmsford coming to Lowell. So we're going to be talking back and forth with each other for some time. So yeah, I'll be here to help with those transitions.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further questions, comments? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rossikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on to the next item, this is a permission to post.
Yes, we.
Mr. Superintendent, a permission to post the adult secondary education registrar and high-set test assistant at the
Yes.
Adult Ed Center. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, we have this, the next two, actually, starting with number 22 is we're requesting your permission to post for this new, and if you have any questions, I believe Mrs. Durkin has some more details on those, on the next two items.
Okay, motion, any comments, questions? Motion to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Scott. I guess we're taking these separately. One is a registrar and test assistant, and the other one is a test proctor. So the first one, motion been made and seconded. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Rossikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Next item is another permission to post for adult secondary education registrar and high-set test proctor. Move to approve by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Gendron. Questions? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on, there's one more permission to post. This request is for full-service community schools program manager.
Again, we are requesting your permission to post. This is a position that is tied up to the grant that we just got, I think last week. And we're looking for your approval to appoint this person, to post for this person.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Questions? Mr. Gendron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this position is paid for by the grant that we just received. And will the individual be working at the alternative school, the academy, career academy? Is that their
That's right.
full-time role?
Ms. Durkin?
Yes, that's correct. The person, this is a 12-month, non-affiliated position, and it's good for the duration of the grant, which is 5 years. And the person will be housed at the Career Academy. However, the main role of this person is to work in close tandem with all of the community agencies who are named in this grant as co-collaborators.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Durkin, further questions? Move to Mr. Conway.
Just quickly, that grant, does that grant pay for, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Assistant Superintendent Durkin, does that pay for the benefits, the Blue Cross, the health care and anything else?
Everything in the grant is covered for the coordinator position, correct?
Okay, and it's good for 5 years, is that correct?
Yes. We
Okay.
will have to annually submit a very extensive data packet, and it will be re-upped every year based on our performance.
And just one final question. After the 5 years, that individual, that goes away with the grant, is that correct?
That is correct. It's not tied to any affiliation with the district as far as the unions are concerned.
Okay. Thank you.
I believe the only thing they're entitled to by state law, Mr. Conway, is unemployment insurance. They're entitled to unemployment. It's the same thing on the city side. We get the grants, and even when the grants expire, I believe it's a federal statute, but all the other benefits go away.
Thank you.
Further discussions, motion to approve. A motion been made and seconded? Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Martin?
I mean, they're like any other laid-off person, though, right? I mean, they've been a permanent benefited person, so they get COBRA, they get...
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
I'm sorry, thanks. I didn't know if there was some federal distinction that they wouldn't get.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
We need a motion. Motion to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Scott. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Gendron,
Yes.
Mr. Leary, Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz, Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Last item under new business is food services, FY15 uncollected funds. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, I'm going to defer to Dr. Lang to explain about this motion.
Dr. Lang?
Thank you. Back in March, I think it was at one of the subcommittee meetings, we talked about a new regulation that the US DOE had put in place pertaining to the food service accounts and the revolving fund balances at the end of the year. And there's a new regulation that goes in effect this year that in essence says any bad debt or uncollected debt at the end of a school year needs to be settled up before you start the following fiscal year. So we have, at this point in time, $153,783 of what's we're considering uncollected debt. So this is debt that's occurred or built up over the course of the year in our food service fund. We continue to try to collect that debt. We send letters, phone calls, things of that sort. But that is the negative fund balance at this point. So before we go into the 15-16 school year, by the new regulation, we need to clean up that debt. And there's also regulation indicating that it can't be charged off to the nonprofit food service account. The food service program itself needs to be separate from this. So you can't use basically federal revenues or federal receipts as that offset, which leaves school departments basically with the only other fund is the general fund. So the recommendation this evening before you to be in compliance with the new regulation is to transfer $153,783 from the fiscal year 15 anticipated surplus at the end of the year. That will go to offset and clean up the uncollected debt. Again, we'll continue to try to recoup that as the year goes on. And this will be something that we're going to have to just take a look at going forward because to be in compliance with our policy about meals and food service, we don't have a point where we actually stop providing meals to students, even if they don't provide payment. So that's the predicament we find ourselves in. To be in compliance with the new reg, that's our recommendation.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Dr. Lang. Obviously, this has been an ongoing thing. What I would say is that, $150,000, I do want us to be clear that this is not a poor performance issue on the part of Aramark as our vendor.
Right.
This isn't any overspending that happened at that point, just so, because I know it can be confusing,
Right.
As we talk about this in the community, and I've had a lot of people ask me about it. So it really is a situation where it's strictly a revenue number, and it's strictly based on the number of lunches that have been given to children where they're either their student account, their individual personal student account didn't have the funds to accommodate that, or it hadn't been paid. And certainly that's an issue that I think as we move forward, I agree with you, we need to continue working towards. As a committee, I know we've had these conversations and talked about the fact that we are not in any way thinking of moving towards a system where there is any kind of punitive or any kind of end of the road. I mean, if a child presents hungry, we will feed them. And I do think that continues to be, in my mind, the absolute in this. If there's, at the end of the year, we're doing $150,000 transfer, and I think that's legitimate, and I will certainly support this motion. And that we can absolutely say that we want to talk more and more about how we can improve the collections on this, absolutely. But every time we talk about it, I feel we need to continue to hit the note that this is not an effort to try and chase down or in any way to hold students in a difficult position over school lunch. So, as we move forward, we can continue doing that. Where this is a new wrinkle, I guess, to the accounting side of things, which is obviously pretty arcane and it's just what it is. My question would be, in a statewide sense, are we responding to this in the same way other communities are? I know as we've gone through the options, we've kind of come to the final conclusion that general fund is the only way to just kind of wipe this debt clean so we move forward, into the new fiscal year. Have there been any other, and maybe we'll just find this out now as people are wrapping this up in the first year in this new environment, any other ways of addressing this? So that would be my question to you, Dr. Kalfawi, as we move forward, that we can kind of, I guess, keep an eye on this one too.
Well, I think that this is a problem that all the communities are facing, all the districts, and this is a new way, because I know the year prior it was exactly the opposite. They wouldn't let us use general fund. We were just talking about that, few colleagues this morning about it, and I think one of the recommendations is you want to make sure that you will always feed your children, your students, is to first look at the alternative lunches and see how you can enforce that in a better way. But also it's something that all the communities are going to have to start looking at, setting aside funds for it, because it's almost like a business running and collect the debts. They will always have reserves in advance, because this year we might be able to cover it, future years we might not. So we need to be careful in having funds set aside.
The only thing I wanted to mention, and this kind of plays right to your motion as far as the response goes, one of the big changes I think that we will benefit from over the next year or two is that CEP provision, the community eligibility provision through the DOE. It was something that we didn't recommend going to for the coming school year because there were still a few unknowns. It's a provision that is eligible, and basically what would end up happening is instead of collecting the free and reduced lunch forms from students, a district's eligibility percentage of reimbursement rate would be predicated on how many students receive different qualifiers, Mass Health, Social Security benefits, things like that. So electronically, the state would actually identify any of our kids that receive some kind of a service from the state. And there's then a formula that basically applies how many kids come on that direct certification list multiplied by, I believe the factor is 1.6, gets you up to what your reimbursement amount is. Ours right now would be in the high 9, so 98, 99% would be our reimbursement rate, which would be great. We would only, as a district, have to supplement, a very small portion of the money, and basically everyone in the district would eat for free. So it wouldn't cost us a lot of money, and at first glance, we said, well, it's almost becoming a no-brainer to do that. And I think a year from now, it probably will be, as far as the percentage, because we're probably going to be at the 100% reimbursement rate. So every student in Lowell will be able to, have breakfast and lunch for free, which will be great. There'll be no collections. The only catch, and this is what we really have to watch for this year, and I really kind of took the lead recommendation-wise from Worcester, whose business official there really has kind of followed this and has been very involved with MASBO on this. We don't know how it's going to impact the entitlement grants and some of the Chapter 70 funding that comes to the district. Because if we don't quantify internally what the actual free and reduced lunch rates of some of these students are, and at the state level, they're giving you all of your allocations based on formula, even though, we wouldn't have to pay $150,000 in uncollected food debt, if our entitlement grants go down, $5 million, it would be, kind of a foolish venture. So over the course of this year, the DOE is actually going to figure out how they're going to deal with these funding challenges. And so that's something that we're going to watch. I think a year from now, we might be in a different position to actually make that recommendation. But it is a year out at this point.
And I would say thank you for 50% of the report that I requested in my motion earlier this very evening. So thank you for that. But I absolutely agree. I mean, I think that's going to be a critical tipping point for us, and we're going to need to be very, very cognizant of what that does. Thanks.
Sorry, Ms. Martin. Okay, done. Further comments, questions on this item? Yep, motion to approve by Mr. Gendron, second by Mr. Conway. Roll call.
Mayor Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Leary? Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz? Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
Moving on to convention conference requests. We have 4 requests. Entertain a motion to take all 4 conferences together by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Gendron. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. With these 4 requests, I entertain a motion to approve all 4 requests by Ms. Scott, second by Ms. Martin. Questions? Comments? Roll call.
Mayor Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Leary? Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz? Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 absent, approved.
That concludes the business before the school committee this evening. I was Ms. Martin?
I was hoping to request a point of personal privilege, but if you're trying to, is that?
I think we're probably going in the same place.
Oh, okay.
But we'll go to your point of, Chair would like to recognize you. Mr. Jenner just came up and we were just talking about, it's just going to be Mr. Lang's last meeting, and he did indicate, oh, that's not it?
Mine is very quick. I actually just wanted to take a moment to thank Dr. Kalfawi for being with us this evening, recognizing that you had a very long-standing vacation in place and that you came back from the Cape for this today. We all appreciate it very much, and I think, your inaugural meeting certainly was not that dramatic, so that's a good thing. But I appreciate that personal, move on your part. We appreciate it. Thank you.
If I may, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Kalfawi? Dr. Kalfawi?
Thank you. Just a slight correction. Thank you very much, but just a slight correction. It wasn't a vacation, it was a conference, and I had a dinner that was pre-scheduled with the assistant commissioner, so we postponed it for tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Point well made. Thank you. Now, sorry about that, Ms. Martin. Mr. Gendron. I guess the chair would like to
determine, Mr. Mayor, is this going to be Dr. Lang's last meeting, last official meeting? Dr. Lang, is that the case?
He did indicate it was, so.
It looks like it will be, yes.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to, if I may, say, I wish you well. Thank you as a kind of a freshman school committee person. Your advice and your knowledge was really valuable. Your responsiveness to calls, your responsiveness to issues, your knowledge of the district is great, especially when it comes to budgets and facilities. You'll certainly be missed, but good news is you're not going too far, and we know where you live, so we can always come find you. I wish you well in your new role.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Gendron. Ms. Scott?
Thank you.
Ms. Martin? And
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to thank you for your service and your time that you've given to the district, and just wish you good luck in your new position.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Ms. Martin?
Not to be terribly redundant, but hey, thanks. Obviously, it's been a very long time we've worked together, Jay, and I know that our district, again, is stronger today for having had you here, and the talent and the expertise you've brought to this position has made a profound impact on this committee's ability to do our job, and God knows, far more importantly, on the job that gets done every day in the classroom. So you've done extremely good work here. I know I echo the sentiments of many when I say I thank you very much for it, and we certainly wish you luck and know where you live. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Mr. Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also want to thank you, Dr. Lang, for your service that you have given to the city of Lowell and to the children of Lowell. And they certainly appreciate it. And I certainly would wish you all the best in your new position, and wish you best for your family, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's no objection, not that I have to turn around, but I also would like to wish you luck and congratulations on achieving the status of your doctorate, as well as becoming the new superintendent of Chelmsford. You, like, as Mr. Gendron has indicated, I think I've just been here a couple of years, but you've been a wealth of knowledge and very helpful. I do appreciate all the assistance that you have provided. Certainly very knowledgeable on finance, budget, and so many other things. So, along with my colleagues, we wish you the best. We know we will be seeing you, for better or for worse, with our union negotiations, and so we will bid you adieu tonight, but we'll certainly be seeing you sometime soon.
Thank you. Yeah, if I just for a second, I very much have enjoyed my time here. It's amazing how really in a flash of an eye, 20 years has gone by. And to kind of look back, that's just, kind of crazy to think that when I started here, how quick it would go by, and the different people that I've had a chance to work with, some great leadership and great school committees. When I leave, and again, I'd said this, it's with kind of mixed emotions, but I am leaving, probably one of the best staffs available. The central office team is excellent. My staff and folks in the business office that work with me and support me every day, I could not ask for a more dedicated, better group of individuals to work with. I have enjoyed it. I thank you very much for your time and support over the years. And as indicated, I'm not going far, and we'll still be be working together. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lang. Before we adjourn, Chair would like to recognize Dr. Calfori, Superintendent.
Yes, I just want to say that, thank you, Dr. Lang. I know we've been here, I've been here a very short time, and I think you made it a very smooth transition, and your help has been invaluable, and I'm looking forward to working with you as a colleague. And you are in my hometown now, so if, I can come to the public too, you know that. So hopefully we'll be working together, and I know we'll be seeing each other frequently in meetings, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, having no further business before the committee tonight, I entertain a motion to adjourn by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Gendron. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. This meeting stands adjourned.